I'm Kathryn Flashner, and this is The Truth Is, a podcast about discovering what it means to live your truth. Even when it's messy, when it unravels the plans you thought you had and invites you to step into the unknown. Each week, we explore practices, stories, and conversations that illuminate the ways we find and follow our own path. This is a space to slow down, ask questions, and uncover what's been quietly waiting inside of you. If it resonates, subscribing, following, and engaging with the show really supports me in bringing more people into the conversation. Thank you for being here. Welcome to The Truth Is. Wilfredo Perdomo is the founder of Destino, a wellness-focused hospitality and lifestyle concept he's building from a deeply personal place. As a Cuban-American born and raised in the U.S. by immigrant parents, so much of Wilfredo's perspective comes from that foundation. Learning how to work hard, figure things out, create beauty with what you have, and make people feel genuinely welcomed. His background is a mix of hospitality, real estate, brand strategy, and product development. He also spent 8 years working with Drew Barrymore, where he gained experience in storytelling, building brands with heart, and creating products that people can truly connect with. Right now, Wilfredo is bringing all of that into Destino. His vision is to create a micro resort and lifestyle brand centered around wellness, design, nature, and emotional reset. And a big part of this mission is making wellness feel more accessible and less performative. Through Destino, Wilfredo is creating spaces where people can slow down, breathe, reconnect with themselves, and feel like they belong, whether they're deeply into wellness or just beginning to explore it. For Wilfredo, Destino is really about creating a feeling and giving people permission to pause. Wilfredo, welcome to The Truth Is.
Thank you for having me. Gosh, it was so beautiful to hear you read my bio.
Yeah. How did it feel to hear that read back to you? I love to ask
Oh my
people that.
gosh, it was almost very emotional,
Yeah.
like, sometimes when, you're kind of describing what you do and the reason why you do it, and things live in your head, but when someone reads it back to you, it's a little emotional. It's a little like, "Wow, yeah, that's my goal. That's what I'm doing."
Mm,
So, it was really nice. Thank you.
of course. It makes me want to ask you, is you take in like that story is still unfolding, but like that all of that has culminated for you to be able to share it. Is there a point where the Destino story began for you?
It's so funny because when I started this concept, I've always loved creating space for people.
Mhm.
And Destino was a name that I came up with my friend Landis, who's passed since I launched the brand. And I just went to him and I was like, Landis, I want something that is Spanish because I'm Latino. I'm trying to create these spaces upstate. The goal is just to create beautiful spaces and have people, come up there at some point, be self-employed, run this business, have a family and kids, and run off of my properties.
Mhm.
And you know, I wanted it. This is maybe too much to say, but I love the name Casamigos, and I love how it
Mhm.
sounds when people say Casamigos, and how Americans say Casamigos instead of like Casamigos.
Mhm.
And so I was like, what is a name in that is Spanish that people can say in English but sounds cool? Like
Yeah.
sounds like it's gonna stay. And he's like Destino, and
Yeah.
that's how the name kind of came up. And since conception it started off with an idea of like, oh, multiple properties that are beautiful and people can stay there and passive income for Wilfredo. And now it's turned into a little more of what you described in my bio, which is it's really about a feeling. It's about creating a space where people can find their peace, their
Mhm.
sanctuary. And as I've evolved in the last 5 years since coming up with the name Destino, so has the brand and what it's going to stand for and the goal of it.
And thank you for sharing that. How I'm so sorry for the loss of your friend and how poignant that he gave you the name and now you're like living in it every day.
It's wild because I remember I'll never forget, it was a conversation in his living room. It was during the pandemic,
Mhm.
and this is before I even had my first property. So, I remember him saying to me, "And keep it simple. Call it Destino number 1, Destino number 2,
Mhm.
and you can have multiple up there, up in the Catskills." And so that always stuck with me, and I'm a very I'm a pretty spiritual person, and I do feel guided in a lot of ways, and I feel his presence with me in a lot of ways as I build this.
I feel that from you that you're a deeply spiritual person, and part of why I'm already loving this conversation with you is, we met in the most fun part of, even if I go back to the corporate world over the next 40 years, it will have still been the most fun chapter of my early career building brands, getting to meet you while working with Drew.
Oh, totally.
And to see how you have honored all of that experience and taken it and translated into something that's deeply personal is such a beautiful, like, alchemy of all of that experience that I feel like is still revealing itself.
100%. And I agree with you. I loved that what we did, you know.
Mhm,
I loved, working with Drew, creating product, because it was done in a really meaningful way.
mhm,
And those 8 years that I was doing that, I just learned so much, and it really is I've taken so much from that, I'm a big believer, even the way I live my life, one of the mottos that we had at that company was, "Let's not create just stuff. Let's create stuff that people really, love when they see it, that
mhm,
brings emotion when they see it." So,
mhm,
we're not just creating fluff, and I think that about my properties. Every single item that I have in these spaces are things that I love.
mhm,
And they're things that, like, kind of create joy, even if it's a decor piece, even if it's the
mhm,
mug that you're drinking out of, um, because it's just very intentional, and I don't like to have extra stuff in my life. It's extra noise and it's extra anxiety. So, even as we were developing product for consumers, and I've found a lot of joy in that process, it really infiltrated just in the way I live my life. And some of our company mottos, like, really kinda stuck with me. So I agree with you. It was a very special time, and I loved it.
I love just the context of, like, you reflecting on how your career led to this moment, and I'm curious, like, the you that came into working with Drew for 8 years was building this career in, like, brand and product development. What were early, like, North Stars for your career as you started out and kind of followed a path into those environments?
Before that life, I was actually in finance,
I remember that. I
and
remember
I
that.
was a mortgage banker.
Wild.
Love to all the mortgage bankers out there because it's a needed profession, but for me, it was a great grad school experience. I
Mhm,
gave it a good 5 years. I built a little business. I loved helping people. I loved helping people buy homes,
mhm,
but I just hated not having a creative outlet. And, moving into a whole new career, that was a whole manifestation in itself. Uh,
mm,
I completely did a 360, left mortgage banking, and then went into the world of Barrymore Brands, where I got to work with Walmart and all these amazing, retailers, and we got to build really fun businesses. Um, and the North Star for me at that time was really like, I want to be an amazing businessman. That was it. It started off
mm,
there. I want to have I wanna work somewhere that there's a creative outlet, and I wanna be an amazing business person. And, I was 32 years old when I made that switch. So when I look at that, and now I just turned 41, and I've
mm,
been at this new venture for probably the last 6 months, even though I've been building it for years and years as a side hustle, it has really evolved from, those 8 years, starting off as a brand manager, working for this amazing president that was previous to me and learning everything that he knew from like PR, marketing, product development, how to talk to people in the industry, how to, to communicate. I was on every email, every conference call, and I just learned so much. And then from there, every 2 or 3 years, I would get some sort of boost in promotion and had more responsibility until, 8 years later, I became the president of brands. And so it was this wild ride and wild growth. I feel like I grew up there. I turned into that businessman that I wanted to always be. And then that led me to something that I've held deep in my heart from a very young age of this deep knowing that I was supposed to be in business for myself at some, and that's where I'm at today. And I feel like that 32-year-old again, like I'm just getting started in this world and there's this immense growth about to start to happen. And I'm just in that learning phase of like, how are we getting there? And, but it's very exciting.
Okay, I love that you said that because that's part of the humility that I'm feeling into right now is like, "Oh, I'm new at something again." And I climbed 10 years in corporate brand building
Yeah.
and knew how to do it and knew what the ins and outs of that while always learning. And coming into this pivot, it's like every piece of it, like, oh, interviewing is a new skill. God
Hmm.
damn it. This is going to be clunky. And oh, figuring out how to make content and share myself is new and I'm going to feel awkward. And for me, it's just like it has been a journey to accepting that because I think part of me that knew how to be a vice president of brand in a media
Oh,
company is like, no, I'm going to pivot and this is going to make click in right away. And like that was a really quick lesson. And so I love your awareness of that, that, oh, this is new. Talk to me about like what that's been like for you.
wow. I I tell people about, this experience that I'm having. Growing a business is a spiritual experience. It's a
Mm,
humbling experience. And it's funny, the ego comes in a lot. And, I came from a place where I was managing social media managers, and all of a sudden I'm my own social media manager, creating my own edits and my own content. It's the most humbling thing in the world. And it's given me even a bigger appreciation for the people that I've worked with that I was able to look at from the top and be like, this is good, this is not good, this is, how can we do this? Now, when you do something for yourself like that, build your own brand from your own branding perspective or your own social media, it is a whole other beast. That's why you see a bunch of creative directors and business people out there that are fierce in the workforce, but you look at their own personal brands and their own personal pages and it's zip because when it comes to applying that creative thinking to your own self, we are so hard on ourselves. And this has just been a humbling experience from, putting myself out there on social media to asking for money and help in financing these businesses, and putting together business proposals for my business versus somebody else's business. It's way simpler and easier when you're coming from the outside looking into someone else's portfolio and be like, oh, this is exactly what you need. But when you're doing it for your own life and your own business, there are layers in between you and the goal and the task at hand, and you have to get over yourself to get there. It's wild, but, it is part of it.
can you sense whether it's like in reflection after a day or in the moment when ego is present for you? Like, can you sense how to self-manage that? Asking for a friend.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll give you an example. In March of this year, I decided, okay, I'm really going to start telling the story of this business on social media, right? And I came from a background, I'm 41 years old. We started with MySpace, then we went to, Facebook, then we went to Instagram. But when Instagram started, it was just about beautiful pictures. It was about look at my beautiful life, right? And it was a little bit about vanity, it was a little bit about this and that. So that's where I kind of grew up into the social media world, and then all of a sudden, I'd always consumed social media and seen what people are doing, and you don't even think about it. It's almost like, oh, yeah, this is what other people are doing to promote their businesses and what they're doing to make money. But when you're starting to do it for yourself, it was just cold sweats. It was like every post was like 3 hours overthinking the edit and thinking like, "What are my colleagues gonna think of me? What are my friends gonna think of me? Like, everyone's gonna, like, judge me."
Mhm.
And, that was those first 2 or 3 weeks of doing it, I think that was all ego. That was all this, like, this scared little boy inside of me that's like, "You're gonna people are gonna judge you. People are gonna
Mhm.
what are people gonna think of you?" And then so that was a muscle and flexing that every day and saying like, the mission is bigger than that. So I
Mm.
have to shush you up right now because if this works, this could be a outlet for my dreams to come true. And I'm so excited for that I have to put you away now.
Mhm.
I just had to get over myself. And it turns out that after a few weeks, the voice gets quieter and quieter and quieter. Then 2 months go by, and you're kind of like, I don't care about that voice anymore. Whatever
Mhm.
little ego voice is coming up, I care about the mission of what I'm trying to do. And I care about putting a message out there and bringing people along for the ride and telling my story. So
Mhm.
but it was a very hard start,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, you said it so well, like, the orientation away from self back to, like, the service and the thing that's beyond you that you're contributing to. Makes me think of the book that I know is dear to both of us, The Surrender Experiment,
Mhm.
and I see your story in that, and
Mm,
I wanted to ask you, how do you and for anyone listening, The Surrender Experiment, it's a beautiful book where the part of the story, it's like this autobiographical journey or memoir style journey of a
yeah.
man surrendering to the flow of life.
Mhm.
And what comes from that is beyond what he could have envisioned. And I think about him getting the plot of land in northern Florida, and now 40 years later, it's the spiritual center where people just kept coming. The question I wanted to ask you, how do I know when to surrender and when the effort comes in? Because at the beginning of that, understanding that concept, I think I would just like sit in my house surrendered, waiting for something to happen. And so I'm curious how you relate to like working through the effort of those couple weeks getting used to social, but then
Mhm.
also the feeling of surrendering to the process. Like how do you think about that concept?
For me, one of the biggest battles, and I kinda look at it as an initiation.
Mm. Ooh,
An
I like
initi
that.
an initiation to entrepreneurship,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of fear that comes in with it, you know, to be your own boss and to work on different revenue streams to keep
Yeah.
going. There's a building phase. There's a phase, where income flows in. There's a phase where it's quiet and income just flowing out. And
Mhm.
you have to get used to that. And that's where the surrender comes in.
Mhm.
That's when I always go back to what is going well.
Mm.
What is going well? That's why in my socials, you'll notice a lot of gratitude walks, because you have to sit around sometimes and realize, like, let me take inventory of everything that is awesome and that I've built.
Yeah.
As I sit in my second property, dreaming up the third, my mom was just able to be here with me. She is healthy and thriving, and I get to experience her. My dog is great. He's been with me for 12 years. The sun is shining today. I can breathe well today. I'm not struggling with anything health related. Like, there are a lot of things that are going really well. So bringing those things in brings me a lot of peace and the
Mhm.
unknowing of, what could happen next. So I think that for me, it's like grounding myself in that. I pray, I
Mhm.
meditate, and then I have to let go. And then I have to come to my notebook and through my after right after my meditations, that's when I create my list of things I need to do that day.
Mhm.
And there it's everywhere from networking for consulting work to, follow up with my friend that's helping me with the architectural renderings to go over to Destino 1 today to make sure it's ready for the next guest. And as long as I'm doing the tasks that feel like spiritually exciting, I mean, even when I had to set up my QuickBooks, like
Mm.
that was you got to do this. And some are harder than others, um, but I guess this is a very long-winded answer to your question, but it's a mix of inventory of what's going well and then taking divine action on what comes
Yeah.
up. And as long as you keep doing those two things, I feel like I can do number three, which is surrender as
Yeah.
my last piece. Because then I feel like I've done everything that I could today in my best effort, if that makes sense.
It's actually very helpful for me, and sometimes I laugh at myself and I'm like, I could write a blog called Obvious Conclusions that I've learned. Which is like the what that my setup for this question was like my ego having to deal with like, "No, honey, it's not just sitting and waiting for something
Right.
to happen." And
Yeah.
the lesson I take from you walking me through that is like, surrender doesn't mean there isn't work and that it's just
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
flow to your doorstep.
Yeah.
And I love the word of initiation, because man, early in this year, I would wake up at 3 AM panicked about money. Like, I really had some,
I,
like
I still wake up at three.
yeah, yeah, like like, you it's just that whole thing where you hear of entrepreneurship being hard, and it's like what you said about doing social media for yourself, and then all of a sudden, I'm doing it, and I'm like, "Oh, got it. Yep, got it." But the biggest thing I wanna reflect back is the way you articulate, like, the spiritual grounding of it all
Mm,
every day, and that your list is coming from that place, and it's not coming from the manic busyness, my words,
yeah.
and you're doing that work to ground yourself and then trusting the things that you're like, and this is the service today, and this is the work, and this is the initiation today. And so I feel the surrender to that process and trusting that process.
Yeah. Yeah, that's 100%. At least that's what's working for me right now, you
Mhm.
know? And it's funny, we're joking about waking up at 3 AM. I have these little stints, these little like a week at a time where I'm like in panic. It's like this like past life or like something coming up in me of like fear of losing everything or fear of not being able to 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 make this business happen because of finances and stuff. So and then it like quiets down and nothing really changed other than like what's going on in here, again, why I tell people building a business is a spiritual journey. Because the fun part that at least happens to me, I ask for signs in my meditation. I'm like, just give me a little sign that I am on the right path. And it turns out that I do get those all the time. And it's
Mhm.
the little nuggets that the universe, God, whatever you believe in, provides that keeps you going, you know?
Mhm.
But all of that comes from action. It all comes from that divine action.
Yeah. Can I ask about a sign recently, if you're willing to share? Or
Oh, yeah.
one that stands out to you?
Yeah, like, for example, a couple of months ago, we're in a slow season upstate. It
Mhm.
was the slush season. We just got into full bloom, so, like, everything's picking back up, right? And it was March and gloomy, and I'm like, "I have this specific number that I need to hit to cover all of my expenses," right? And you're like, "I don't know how this is gonna happen this month because 'cause I'm looking at the pipeline, I'm like, "There are no things happening here. How is this happening? And then all of a sudden, after, at the end of this week where I felt all this stress, a lot of meditation, a lot of whatever, a lot of action, I end up getting this rental for, the month of September. But
Mhm.
it was a direct booking. So because it was a direct booking, that those funds came in immediately.
Mhm.
And then for the first time in years, I got a return from the government.
Yeah.
Like, I always have to pay,
Yeah.
you
Same.
know? And I was just like, "Huh." And it's just so funny, those 2 things made up the sum
Yeah.
of what I needed to have for the first of the next month,
Mhm.
you know? And it's those moments that I'm just like, "Wow." It was, like, exact. It wasn't just like, it was like that number is
Yeah.
exactly what covered it for me not to have to dip into savings, you know?
Yeah. It's funny, this is my first year filing taxes, working for myself with a whole lot of expenses to figure out, and, I was putting off, like, setting it all up and figuring out filing and, like, really and then all of a sudden, my neighbor who lives right behind me, he's, like, walking up the driveway, and he's, like, a fractional, CFO, and I'm like, "How's your day?" He's like, "Just helping my friends file taxes," and I was like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, do you want me to help?" I was like, "Really?" And when I tell you, Wilfredo, on a Saturday morning, I bought him pastries. He came over for like 2.5 hours. And not only did he like go through my whole business with me and just like the year of transition, it
Um,
became like a like truly a therapeutic like, he sits down with his notebook and he's like, "So, most people I work with, like, there's so much around money, so much shame, discomfort, and, like, I just want you to know, like, it's okay, we can talk about it all." And I almost couldn't believe it, like and then he filed my taxes for me and got me a refund, which I did not expect. And to think that that just, like, was sitting right there,
mm,
and I don't know if this tell me how this lands for you. This you pointed to it a little bit earlier. This year has really been about also looking at my default of, like, "Oh, I have to do this all by myself," and actually
mm,
realizing that any bit of momentum or clarity, often it can come from accepting support of people around me.
I'm single with my
Mhm.
dog upstate.
Same, same, we have that in common.
Yeah, and I tend to think that I have to do everything alone as well,
Mhm,
and I forget that I'm surrounded by incredibly fierce, amazing people, amazing friends, amazing partners up here from my contractor, and so there is support available. That's, ego in itself is thinking that you
mhm.
can just do everything on your own, so
Yeah,
I totally hear you. Another example of, like, a divine moment that happened to me last week was, I am at that point that my contractor is like, please submit the plans for the garage. I'm converting this garage behind my house into a third property in hopes of creating this mini retreat space here in the Catskills. And I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. I've been working with AI. I'm going to figure this out. I have the
yeah,
dimensions of the garage. Let me get it to a place, and then we'll submit that to an architect, to someone to do the renderings and like really get everything going. Let me tell you, that was really, really hard. As I'm playing with AI, I'm like, I can't figure this out. And my mom's in town that weekend, and I'm in the car, and I get a call from an ex lover
mhm,
of like 15 or 16 years ago, probably in my early 20s.
mhm.
And they're like, hey, I see what you're doing on social media. I know we haven't talked in a really long time, but I saw the garage project. If you need help designing this thing, let me know. I think it would just be really fun. I was like, what? And they are in real estate, but they have a degree in design, architectural design, but they don't get to use that muscle, right? And I'm like, yeah, I really need some help, And in turn, I'm gonna help them with marketing for the real estate business and the stuff that I really know how to do. And
Yeah.
it was just one of those divine moments where I don't believe that was a coincidence. I think that the universe saw me. They're like, "You're not doing this with AI. You need some help."
Mhm.
But in
Mhm.
my mind, I would have never thought like, "Oh, let me reach out to friends to see if they can help me, like an architect can help me do this?" So,
Yeah. That's been true for me too, is to be open enough to receive it when it
mm,
comes in. Cause yeah, I agree. My default isn't to go ask for it, but but to be aware when, hey, all of a sudden is available, and to
mm.
accept kind of the invitation for that support or that partnership.
I think that's another reason why it's so important as entrepreneurs, as someone like yourself, like putting yourself out there with a mission and a goal in
Mhm.
mind. There's a vulnerability in talking about what you're doing
Yeah.
and discussing what you're building. And it's through that vulnerability and putting yourself out there that people start paying attention and start connecting. And if I hadn't put that video out there saying like, "Hey, this is my idea of remodeling this garage and turning it into a retreat space," that he probably wouldn't have seen that or wouldn't have known that. We haven't talked in years.
Right.
So, I do believe it's like in a weird way that is my way of putting it out there to the universe of saying like, "Hey, this is
Yeah.
what I'm doing over here," and a way of connecting with people that are in line.
I wanted to trace a little bit of the story of the Destino these last, you said that the name came from your late friend
Mhm.
during COVID. And then what I've observed is we've caught up throughout the last couple years. Destino 1 happened, Destino 2 happened, now there's a Destino converted garage space happening. What has that process been of those kind of expansions opening up? Has it been similar to what we're talking about where the invitation revealed itself to you? Like, how do you sit in the expansion of it all?
It just evolves.
Mhm,
You start off thinking you know what you have an idea, right?
mhm,
And that idea ends up just evolving over time. So this again started off with I had a history in mortgage, so I wasn't, so I knew I wanted to invest from a very young age. I always wanted a cabin in the woods. So I wanted to bring those two worlds together and have this beautiful little rental property that brought passive income. At
yeah,
that time, I was not thinking of leaving career world and I was just like, oh, let's just have some passive income with these properties and it'll just be my retirement someday. And it's now evolved into, wait a second, through the process of remodeling the first one, I think I found my thing. I think I found what like makes my heart sing. I love transforming and creating space, not only for myself, but for people to enjoy. So
mhm,
then that lights a bulb, right? And then all of a sudden, okay, we got the first one going. It's like, all right, well, let's work on another one. And then we find the perfect property 6 minutes away. That's a
yeah,
very different vibe. We get that. Now this is a bigger remodel job. So now it's like, oh my gosh, can I handle this? Can I handle designing this? Like the first one was some paint, some new windows, and like cleaning off the deck. The second one is like two new bathrooms, redoing the kitchen, picking everything out.
mhm,
Then it turns out I really love doing this. And then you start figuring out, wait, there's a commonality happening here. Each space represents peace. There's a little bit of sanctuary here. There's kind of like a spiritual element of when you're in the space.
yeah,
And then that starts evolving. Then, I go on a meditation retreat that changes kind of my perspective, and another light bulb goes off. And it's like, wait a second. I left that week trip
mhm,
feeling like I need to do this at least once a year. Not just go to Cabo and lay on a beach with friends,
yeah,
go on an intentional retreat once a year because you leave feeling lighter,
yeah,
like ready to live in a different way, right? Because it's such an intense, vulnerable experience where people really connect and you're with other people and sharing these profound experiences. And in that retreat where I was in the very initial stages of learning how to facilitate breath work for other people, and
Mhm.
I have a ways to go, but gonna get there. It came to me and I was like, wait a second, why not create spaces upstate for people to retreat and to then one day be able to facilitate breath work for people and to see if we can create spaces of healing and real sanctuary. I
Mhm.
want people to not only come to a beautiful space, but I want them leaving feeling like, oh my gosh, I am ready to go back to life. I am
Mhm.
ready to live differently. And then so that has been the evolution from when I started with just a like side hustle, passive income to now like a very intentional business that someday, hopefully by the next time we have our next um, conversation and podcast, we'll
Mhm.
be breaking ground into an actual retreat space and buying land and
Mhm.
creating multiple properties on it.
Your life, in the Catskills has a lot of spiritual grounding in it, and going to this experience, this breathwork retreat, putting yourself in that different context opened up all different sorts of clarity and
Mm,
revelation. Like, that fascinates me.
mm,
And this writer who I've gotten to know, I go to his writing retreats. His name's Jedediah Jenkins. He's wonderful. And he's like, I believe we're one mini sabbatical away from a breakthrough. And I went to one in October in Wilfredo. I almost didn't go because I was having a 3 a.m. Panic about everything, but
sure.
I flew to the mountains in northern North Carolina and drove for a 48-hour retreat with to duct tape my phone in a manila envelope. And when I tell you, those it wasn't even 48 hours. And all of a sudden I was myself again, and
Mm,
I was so clear. And the other thing I want to reflect back is what is so meaningful is then all of a sudden the thing goes from, to your language, this side hustle to like, no, this is bigger. And I
mhm,
wonder about the relationship between those two things. Like, you're able to receive this awareness of it being bigger and then
mhm.
step into that, right?
Yeah. It's interesting going back to the ego.
Mhm.
I feel like almost what this week or intensive experience does is it kind of strips it away. So you
Yeah,
actually get to experience like what it's like to kind of be at least farther away from it because I'm sure it always lives in us in some sort of
sure.
way. And I'm telling you, by the end of this week in Mexico, after breathing with these people and having these intense, memorable experiences and vulnerable experiences, and it was hard. It was exhausting, um, but beautiful. I felt like nothing could bring me down. I'm like, everything that I had worried about before, I'm like, it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah,
that's where I was in a liberated state, right? But what no one tells you, and they kind of warned us about this, but when you come back to real world,
yeah.
oh my gosh, it could all flood back in. So it's normal to experience like the whiplash. I almost was depressed for a week. I'm like, oh my gosh, the fear, the worry, everything came back. And then you go back to the practice. And then you get back to the practice and try to get back to that space of letting go and letting go and letting go. And then
Mhm.
finally you find an equilibrium that is manageable. But it is a profound experience. Yeah.
A week after that, I was like more unhinged than before.
100%.
And my friend who I met, funny enough, I just interviewed last week. She'll be on the show. Her episode goes live tomorrow. It's amazing the people you meet at these things. She was
Yeah.
like, no, yeah, like that's a thing. Like, she validated it for me. Like, that's the reintegration of it. And so I'm curious
That's what
for
we call it,
you.
the reintegration.
Yeah.
Oh
Do you
gosh.
feel that like you've been able to integrate some of what you took there, and that your new baseline, like your baseline has shifted before and after?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, because again, reintegration took me back even farther into a scarier place, like you said. I think I
Mhm.
was even it took me even to a darker place than I
Yes,
was
same.
before.
Yeah,
Um, but now that I've, like, come out of it, a lot has happened since then. We're, like, 6 weeks since that happened, 8 weeks maybe. You do find that equilibrium, but that is part of the work, and
right.
this initiation of what it is we're doing. And I have to say, there's this beautiful thing that my breathwork facilitator mentioned at one of our dinners. And because a lot of what came up for me during that experience was fear. I'm
Mhm.
like in this complete unknown of how the income, the this, the that, how I'm going to build this. Like a lot of like 10,000 things have to go right for this dream to come true.
Yeah,
Right. And, and leaving like the steadiness of a 9 to 5 job, right. Where you just have that sense of security, whatever that may mean for you.
yeah.
And she said to me, she's like, most people in this world won't leave that life so they don't experience what it is that you're experiencing right now.
Mm.
They won't leave that because they never want to feel this uncertainty and this fear.
Mhm.
And I get goosebumps thinking about it because I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. It is a leap and a faithful leap into yourself
Yeah.
and a entirely different kind of a hustle.
Once you start down this path, there is for me a sense of, well, you're not going to revert back. You can't. There is. You're keep pushing forward, keep
Yeah.
nudging it forward. Um, because you get earlier there was those moments of wanting to like turn and run the other way.
Listen, it comes up a lot, you
Hmm.
know? It's nice to have in the background of like, you know what? If push came to shove, if the universe pushed me that way, and you could tell when the signs show up, if that's
Right.
what I need to do, I'll do it. It's
Yeah.
always available to me. I will dust off the resume and like put myself back there in the workforce. I
Yeah.
like it's funny because I'm currently looking for some consulting work to dual path as I build
Hmm.
upstate. And also because I just feel like I'm not done with
Yeah.
what I was doing. There's a true love for building brands and
Hmm.
product and things that people relate to. So there's that itch to have that to be able to use that muscle and
Hmm.
in that art form and hopefully help people and help brands. So I don't feel like I'm done. So that's why I'm keeping that consulting lane open like you.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think that if I felt the signs of like, all right, it's time, I'll do it. And then I'll
Yeah.
believe that that's the path that I have to take. And then I'll
Hmm.
find the love and the passion behind that too. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? And I think that one of the things that brings me a lot of peace is when you don't limit yourself or hold on to an idea so tightly that nothing else can be possible. Talk about the ego. For me, letting go it's like, okay, I have a dream. I have a feeling that I'm going to get there, and I have a feeling that everything will work out in that progression.
Hmm.
But if I have health, if I have the ability to do everything I want to do, if I have my family's love, whatever, I can do
Mm. Mm.
anything. And if this house isn't supposed to be the thing that takes me to the next level and this has to go away for me to go there, I'll do it.
Mhm.
So that's the letting go that I'm constantly working on, where I'm not so attached to an idea that everything else is going to make me suffer if it doesn't look this way.
Mhm.
So you have to kind of keep that lane open in your mind, in my opinion. And listen, I will hustle and I will work so hard to make this dream come true.
Mm.
Um, but there's a liberation in knowing, regardless, Wilfredo, you get to show up as you tomorrow, and you're going to make anything work in your life because you believe in yourself. And
Mm.
if this all fails, you will rebuild, and that's it.
There's a real sense of your awareness of like you're doing this thing and you are not it. Like your inherent self-worthiness is is showing up to it, and reminds me of this book by Stephen Pressfield, who writes a lot about resistance. It's like he it's almost like a spiritual understanding of what the professional is in making art, and he's a writer, and he's like, I show up, I do it, and then I let it go. And I am
Mhm.
my and I say that because I think part of what I'm undoing and looking at is how much of those 10 years I thought I was proving that I was worthy. Um,
So
and my identity was so wrapped up in it.
yeah.
Um, and I want to in this reflection and more broadly, I wanted to ask, like you shared recently, how central your mom is to your why.
Mm.
Will you talk a little bit about your roots and what lesson you think, like, continues to be one that she's given you?
Oh man, this one's a tearjerker for me. But my mom, she is my why at this
Mhm,
moment, and as a Cuban-American, and maybe, and I think that Latin people share this commonality, not to say many others don't, but there's something about a relationship with your mom. And when you see her clean houses for 36 years, and she was just always present and there. And always deep down, because of the hard work that she put into raising us here in this country, leaving Cuba when they had a moment to kind of escape and make it out here in the early 80s, you see the struggle that they go through. So deep down inside, and this was never a burden for me, I always knew it was going to be mom's 401k, because I
mhm,
knew that she, whatever her work, was an investment to make sure that I had all the possibilities. Like for me, there was no like, I'm going to flunk out of school, or I'm going to party and not get this done because for me, it was always like, you're going to college, you're going to do this, excitingly. You will be super successful someday, and you will provide for your mom and your family. So that's always been my North Star from a very young age, and with not in a burdensome way, not even in like a weight. It's always been a joy. Like it's always been very exciting for me. So cut to present day, the fact that at 74 I still get to have her. A lot of people, don't get to have that energy in their life, or they don't have healed relationships with their parents. And back to like taking inventory of what's going well in my life. That is one of the things that's going really well. My relationship with my mom, and I have a healed relationship with my father. We had a really tough time in my teenage years. He was kind of that stereotypical Cuban. There's a lot of dissonance, a lot of, issues with my parents, but even we have healed over the last few years. And I just I'm so excited for that, and I wanna take advantage of that moment, this moment. And I had a realization during breath work, actually, during that retreat, where I realized, "Wait a second. Over the last 20 years since I went to UCLA and I went to college out in California and left Texas, I've seen my mom, like, twice a year." Listen, I talk to her on the phone almost every day, maybe every other day, but I'm like, "Wait a sec." In my head, I have been building and building and building, and I'm like, well, when I get there, when I get to that whatever there is for me, then I'm gonna travel with mom. I'm gonna fly her to Costa Rica to do all this stuff. I will have gotten there. Had this realization during breath work where it's like, wait a second, it's now. This is it. While you build. She doesn't care that you're not, like, at your goal. She just wants to hang out now. So, it was really beautiful to have that realization. So I already have set a plan. Like she came out here for Mother's Day, and in 2 months I'll be going to see her. And we're just gonna have this cadence where we're only 2 hours away via flight right now. Um, and I just wanna hang out more, and I want to appreciate that energy. And then on top of that, as a spiritual person, just to have that living energy, whoever that may be for you, that is rooting you on every step of the way, and that is praying for you, and that like sincerely doing that for you. I don't take that energy for granted.
Mm.
Um, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just that proud Latin son, but I'm so happy to do this kind of with that in mind. And listen, and that'll change. And someday I will have a family as I deeply want. I will have a partner. I will have kids. And then maybe my whys will change, Right now, this is where I'm at.
What was it like on over Mother's Day weekend showing her what you're building?
Oh man, it's special. It was her first time seeing Destino 2. She had been to
Mhm,
Destino 1 a few times. Um, it was peaceful.
mhm.
It was just peaceful. It was a reminder of, there wasn't a huge to-do list. It was just us hanging out in this very home. And
Yeah,
it's funny, it's like the exact reason I'm building it for people.
right.
It literally we got to do the thing that I'm building it for others to enjoy. And
Mm,
there's just a peace here, just sitting in this kitchen, sitting in this living room, laughing, FaceTiming my sister, lots of giggling, lots of cooking. It was just kind of magical. And,
yeah,
she saw the plot of land that I'm kind of looking at right now for the micro resort. She prayed over me. We both
mm,
would get goosebumps. She's a very spiritual person. And my mom was always anxious as I was growing up. She was a very anxious woman. And that anxiety, but very strong. And to see her at 74 be like this kind of force of like calm and reassurance for me is just really, really special. And I'm really
yeah.
grateful for it.
I love what you said about experiencing, especially with your mom, in the sanctuary you've created, what you hope to offer to other people. Like, how
Mhm.
cool for you to take that in. And as we start to, I've loved this so much, but as we start to bring this conversation home, I wanted to ask about Destino specifically, what you see and what you feel, maybe in yourself, maybe in people around you, that we're really needing right now,
Oh, such a
that
great.
you hope to be an offering to.
Thank you for asking this because it's so nice to articulate, because there is a mission. Even though for a long time I didn't know how to articulate the mission, I knew there was something emerging.
Mhm,
And what I realized in building this, and remember, I think as founders, as people that are building, everything is a little self serving because there's a need that you have. And you're like, wait a second, if I have this need or desire, I think other people will have it as well. And the mission and the goal is to create beautiful space for people to enjoy, obviously. That is an offering, right? But I would love to bring in a permission to dip your toe into what's spiritual and what a return to self may be for you. And I think that a lot of people in this world, um, everyone is searching for some sort of connection and healing.
mhm,
Whether you're an atheist or you're religious or you're not, it doesn't matter. I think that as just like humans in an age of technology and overstimulation and overworking, there's a simplicity that we're looking to come back to. And the mission here is if I can create space for people to come to a beautiful space as the ground level, the but but the different tiers will be the opportunity to dip into maybe a retreat that they've never thought that they would do, or maybe an offering. The goal is to have a little retreat space for the
mhm,
community out here and for people to dip in who's renting property. So it's about like, you know, can we let people take the intimidation out of dipping your toe into spirituality, which really all that means is reconnecting with yourself,
Yeah.
going woo woo for a weekend,
Mm-hmm.
without it being forced or gimmicky.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's the hope. I think that the future of hospitality and travel really is wellness focused. I
Mm-hmm.
think that for myself and for a lot of my peers, it's not about that crazy weekend in Cabo anymore. And that serves its purpose, and there's no hate on that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
got a lot of it. I went to Ibiza for my 40th birthday, which is
Amazing.
also a spiritual place outside of
Right.
the party. Um, but I think there is this deep desire for connection and to just do a little something just for you.
Yeah.
And I hope to provide space to solo travelers and families and people who just want to go to a beautiful space. And if that's all you want, this will be great for you too. But if you want to dip
Mm-hmm.
into trying something new, connecting with other people that are in the same boat, I'd like
Mm-hmm.
that too.
I can't wait for my Truth is Retreat series. I'm manifesting it.
Oh my
I,
god, but one day when we're walking the grounds of Destino
mm-hmm.
retreats and, and we see the meditation studio and you see the cabins and you see the
Mm-hmm.
landscape, it'll be a really beautiful, beautiful day to say, "Wow,
Mm-hmm.
we did it."
We did it. I'm gonna share everything. I mean, I'm gonna plug the Catskills in the fall, which it sounds like you're probably booking up, but man, there's nothing like it. There's nothing
Oh my
like it.
gosh. It's really special. It's really
Mhm.
special up here, and it's only 2.5 from the city.
Yeah.
It is. I encourage people. Me and some neighbors came by yesterday. It was my first time hosting on the deck
Mhm.
since I've remodeled this property. And the difference here in the Catskills is it's a little harder to get to.
Mhm.
You need a car, to come into the mountains, not as accessible as like a Hamptons or a Hudson Valley,
Mhm.
but that little identifier or that thing that separates it, making it a little harder, I think is what makes this area even more special. So
Yeah.
when you come up here, it is a truly an all seasons place. The spring is wonderful. The summer is fun. There's lakes, there's watering holes, there's rivers. The fall is enchanting in its own thing, and the winter is like lovely ski resort area with little chalets full of snow. So
Yeah.
it's a really lovely place. I'm so happy that the universe brought me here, and I'm
Mhm.
really happy to be building here.
I'm glad you're building there. It's so special. I celebrated my 34th in the Catskills with friends in December. It was the best weekend of my year. It
Oh,
was. And part of it, you're right, is that it's removed and you're just kind of there together, you know?
yeah,
And then
yeah.
you go into Woodstock and pet a donkey and then you go back to the house and
Totally.
you're just there together. Well, I'm so grateful that you're in my life and it's so nourishing for me to watch you on this path, for sure.
Thank you for saying that, and
Yep.
ditto. It's funny, when I transitioned out of corporate, you were the first person that came to mind, and I remember I reached out to you because that experience that we shared together and working together, I just was like, "I think you need to reach out to Kathryn. I think you need
Mm,
to, connect with her." Just because I was so new into the world of, leaving corporate, and I saw what you were doing, and
yeah.
we had that conversation, and it was really, really lovely, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
And yeah.
Um, I'd love to end with a few fun ones if you're up for it.
Yes.
And I'll say the people that listen to this a lot, I probably sound like a broken record, but I have to say it. There's a book, The Way of Integrity by Martha Beck, and she talks about like walking your true path. And
Mhm.
I bring it up because the thing I think about a ton that's been the biggest gift of this year is she's like, when you are in integrity with who you are, you will find your people. And I
Mhm.
have to pause to take in whether it's someone like you where we met in a different context, but now all of a sudden we have this like kindred shared experience and connection,
Mhm.
taking in like who has come into my life because I'm charting this. It's like what you shared earlier. And it's just a lovely little sign of like, oh, this, yeah, like this is part of the gift of pursuing this way, this path.
Yeah. And it's
Yep.
lovely to start welcoming those connections, right?
Yeah.
As you lean into your spiritual self and again your journey into entrepreneurship, and then you start really identifying with those people, and you start commiserating because you're like, ah,
Yeah.
and it's really really beautiful.
100%. Okay, I'm going to give you a personalized one to you to start. It's really just me wanting to acknowledge Moby in your life because I'm also a soul, like my dog is my thing. What is Moby providing for you right now?
Oh my gosh, my little Scorpio. He is like he's just like my solid ground.
Yeah.
Like he just holds me. He holds me up. He's a sweetheart, but he's very dominant dog. I'm also like a very dominant. I've always been the president of this and the drum major, blah, blah, blah. So we're both kind of like that, but he just energetically holds me. He's not super cuddly, but he will always be next to me.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I just love it. It's,
Mm.
having his energy around 12 and a half years with him. He's just the best.
What is a ritual or a practice in your daily life that keeps you you?
I every morning start the day off with some sort of meditation that I move around. I do different types, and then I go directly into just writing what I'm
Mm.
grateful for, writing what's going right. Because starting the day with just taking inventory and of everything going really well in your life just kind of shifts your mindset, you know.
Mm, especially you doing it in the beautiful space. I can't beat it, really.
I look out this beautiful picture window to the mountains. The sun is literally rising at
Yeah,
about 5:15 in the morning. I
yeah.
tend to take a picture of it, and then the people on my social media must get so tired of that one picture of the view out the
Doubtful,
window.
doubtful.
And then I just write it all down. I write it all down. I write everything down that's going on in my mind and that I'm grateful for. Yeah.
Mhm. What would 8-year-old Wilfredo say to you today?
Oh man, that little boy who was so scared of
Mm,
everything. You know, I think about like what I would say to him, a lot.
mm. Yeah,
Actually,
let's Uno reverse it.
I guess what I would say to him is, you're totally going to do it.
Mm,
You're totally going to do it, and you're going to defy odds. And a lot, you didn't deserve it. I would say that to him. There's a lot of things that little boy didn't deserve, but you will come through and you will be on top and your dreams come true,
mm,
you know?
mhm,
I think what he would say to me is have fun.
mm,
Have fun. Don't lose the fun. And
mm,
sometimes even, Catherine, I'll let you know, like even in my daily to-do list, I'll even put have fun
mhm,
because it's like we get so caught up in like the doing, the growing, the whatever. It's like some days I just want to just have fun and be joyful and be playful and do the things that like, bring up that spiritual joy. So I think that little boy would say, just have fun,
mm.
you know?
I had to I had such a moment looking at you saying that and being like, "Oh, and he's in you." Like he's in you. He was you. I ask everyone that question and I just was like, "Whoa," like you
Yeah,
connecting with him. I'm like, "Oh yeah, you were him and
yeah,
you are him." That's
yeah.
crazy. That's so beautiful. To flip it, what would your 80-year-old old self say to you today?
Oh my gosh. Stop worrying, you know?
Mhm.
Stop worrying. Everything comes true for you. Everything works out for you. So stop
Mm,
less worrying.
mm. I
Yeah.
love I love everything comes true. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever it's supposed to be, it will come true.
Yeah. When I look at my life, not to go like, I know we're at the end here, but everything that I've really wanted in my life, I have made possible,
Mhm,
has come to fruition, you know? And what it just gets harder to think that way as you get older, I think. When you have less to lose, you're like, this is what I want. I want to go to UCLA someday. I was a solid B student. I had no idea how I was going to get into UCLA. I drove to California when I was 18 years old with $600 in my pocket. I stayed with an aunt
mhm,
for 9 months. Then I worked my butt off. After 2 years, I got my residency, started going to Santa Monica College. And 2 years later, I transferred to UCLA.
mhm,
And I graduated at 26, but still, I did it. And, when I look at that, and I'm like, you will make this happen. Your dreams do come true. Because when you set
mm,
your heart on something that's supposed to be for you, you will get there.
mm.
So it's just remembering that. It's remembering that as you get older, as you have more to lose, um, that yeah, things work out for you as long as you put one foot in front of the other every day.
You just said what I was gonna say, which what an example of in knowing it's day by day. It's not gonna happen overnight. Like it's day by day, month by month, year by year,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the showing up to it every day.
Yeah.
Man, this is a fill in the blank.
Mm.
Take it however feels right for you. It's I used to think blank, but now I know or now I believe blank.
I used to think that happiness meant getting to a certain goal. I would be happy when I attained this. I used to think that I would be happy when I hit this income bracket, or I would be happy when I had this thing. And now I know that that is not happiness. Now I know that happiness is right now and finding the joy in my life as is, with or without the thing or the validator.
Mhm,
And if I can find that joy in today and the little things that I'm doing and the little moments that I have and the little connections that I have with people, that's
mhm,
it. And then tomorrow, if I'm not here, I will know that today I lived my happiest day. And that is my goal every day.
and lastly, what is a simple truth about the season of life you're in right now?
I'm taking a bet on Wilfredo in this season.
Mhm.
I'm taking a bet on Wilfredo.
Mm. Anything I'll share all the links, but
Yeah.
how would you like people to find you? What would you like people to
To
look
do?
out for? Yeah.
Well, first of all, anyone who wants to check out one of these properties in the Catskills, findyourdestino.com. I'm trying out a new business model where I'm actually remodeling a friend's house and
Mm,
turning that into a Destino as well.
wow.
So I think by summer we'll have probably 4 or 5
Wow.
properties, and they're all kind of in the same area. So big groups can come up here and be like 5 minutes away from each other. So that's an amazing way to support the business as we grow. Rentals really help as I build this micro retreat space. And then you can find me at Wilfredo, WILFREYDOH. I probably
Oh,
should, I
that's
should,
your handle.
my
I just
handle.
I was like, "Am I spelling your name wrong?" That's
No,
your
it was a handle that I created like 10 plus years ago because I thought it was funny and people never really pronounced my name correctly.
How
Uh,
would people pronounce it?
I mean, most people will call me Alfredo, even though there's a W,
Okay,
right? In the,
this is a tangent, but let's just say when I met you and was working with you, there was someone with a very similar name on your team. Wasn't there a Wilfredo and an Alfredo?
yes, there was an Alfredo. Listen, they're everywhere. But so for me, it was just like a funny, like,
Yeah,
um, this is how you pronounce my name. But it's Wilfredo Building Destino. And then the properties are at Find Your Destino.
amazing. This has been such a joy, and your story and your spiritual and emotional and self-knowledge is such a gift to this show. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for saying that. And thanks for having me. I have to say, it's such a beautiful opportunity to vocalize all the ideas and things that are actually happening in your mind. And
Yeah.
so, thank you for even providing space. It's very cathartic and healing to like speak it out loud.
Mm.
And a lot goes on in our minds, and to be able to have a discussion and to vocalize ideas is really special. So, thank you for the time.
I'm so glad. Thank you.
Yeah.
See you in the Catskills.
Okay, I love it.
I hope you leave this episode with something that stays with you, a question worth holding, or an insight worth following. If this conversation resonated, subscribing or sharing the episode helps bring more people into the conversation. And connect with The Truth Is at The Truth Is Podcast on Instagram. Special thanks to the people who make this show possible. Editing by Dan Kroll. Video production and editing by Anton LaPlume. Music by Will Savino. Visual identity by Sarah Gaynor and Jonathan Bush. And guidance from my friend and advisor, Natalie Tulloch. I'm Kathryn Flashner. Thank you for listening to The Truth Is.